Well, Bomber fans, welcome back to the Footy panel. Now, the Bombers got a couple of bargains out of Canberra in the 90s. One was James Hurd and the other one was this man, Justin Blumfield. Justin, good to see you.
Thank you. Good morning.
Now, footy ended pretty early for you, 27. What have you been doing since?
Yeah, it finished earlier than I hoped, actually. I was talking to Scotty earlier and he played another 5 years after me. I think he nearly doubled me in the games, which disappointing for me, but good for Scotty. Yeah, look, I'm working for a property company now that owns, manages and develops shopping centres around the country. They're called Vicinity Shopping Centres. Sort of fell into it actually after I played footy. I went to Newcastle and then started there in a marketing role and now sort of have a regional role around the country, looking after the management teams that manage the centres. So, yeah, it's been great. It's been about 10 years now. It goes pretty quick.
Favourite footy memory?
Favourite footy memory? Look, has to be the 2000 premiership, doesn't it? I mean, it's been a while now since that. It's 17 years, so I think the supporters are probably a little bit, looking for some success. But yeah, that was an amazing day, as you know, Scotty. It's probably one of the best days of our lives, and it was just a great year actually. Having one loss for the whole year, you sort of have to pinch yourself now when you see how close the competition is. So.
Now that was the Dorothy Dix, because that leads us to the real question. Were you robbed of the Norm Smith medal?
I think I'm more famous for not getting it than if I got it. Bump into people and go, you were robbed and, you had a great game. And look, I think I watch the game, every now and then, as you do. Such a great game. And I think there's so many players that had good games. Paul Barnard will argue, he kicked his 4 goals, he deserved it. Dean Solomon had a cracking game, Carousella, and obviously Hurdy. So look, I was just happy to, play well on the day. And, I think it's a tough decision to make. So I don't think, I think they made the right call in the end.
It's obviously tough for you when your time at Essendon came to an end. It was for Chris Heffernan, for Blake Carousella. It was Damien Hardwick the year before. Just take us through that time.
Yeah, it was a tough time. I mean, it happens with any success, though, doesn't it? When you see, you look at Hawthorn, what they're going through now with, the culture sort of unravelling a little bit and building it back up again. I think it was tough because the club had a list of players that obviously were close to the top of the salary cap. They had to make some tough calls, and look, I also had a choice. I decided to go to Richmond. I thought it might be a good new fresh start for me after the club had sort of nearly got there in a second crack at the premiership, and as we know, they're really hard to get to. And I thought maybe going to a fresh club might give us another chance at that, and also probably motivate me a little bit more. After you win a premiership, you do start to think, what's next? How can I diversify and do something different? But look, it was tough because I think, within the midfield, there was something like 1,500 possessions that came out of the midfield that year for the Bombers, which is hard to replace with younger players coming through. So obviously it was something that took the club to get over a while, but look, I wouldn't be sitting here now with a different career if it didn't happen that way.
Tigers, was there anyone else? Was you close to going somewhere else? What were your choices?
Yeah, there's a couple of choices actually in the mix. I think Dennis Pagan was at Carlton at the time.
Yeah.
I think I had a couple of conversations with him. The Swans were interested a little bit earlier in my career, but I don't think there was sort of much going there. There was a little bit of a conversation there. But it was mainly, probably Carlton and Richmond that were the two, because they were based in Melbourne as well, and I sort of had a family here, so I wanted to stay here.
And take us through, now your debut is quite unique. In 1996, just take us through your debut game, because it's a good trivia question.
The debut game
really.
Is the one when the lights went out in the game at Waverley Park on the Saturday, and obviously there was a quarter to go, I think.
Yeah, about 40 minutes of footy, wasn't it?
40 minutes of footy, and the teams got to be selected again to go and play that quarter of footy.
They could make changes.
They made changes, and I remember, I think it was Ben Doolan at the time was injured.
Hurdy broke his finger,
I think he
did
came
he?
back.
Hurdy
He came
back,
did
did he?
I think he came on the Tuesday night.
Yeah, and I think Ben Doolan, I think I was the one that came in for him, and so I found myself playing my first game with a quarter and a half on the Wednesday night or whatever it was, and I remember Sheeds putting me on in the last quarter, and I was at full forward, and the tactic was to just own the ball and kick it around the back line, which back in those days, wasn't, that common. So I didn't look like getting a kick, actually. So I think I didn't hamper the scoreboard at all. I had donuts in my first game in a quarter and a bit, but it was still great to run out on the field with the team and get that reward for the effort that I was putting into the reserves. And then I think it took me another 6 or 7 weeks, but then I played my first game against Richmond.
I was going to say, you didn't keep your spot after that, did you?
Nah, I didn't keep my spot after that. Came in for a quarter and a half.
Quality 40 minutes of footy?
Yeah. But as I said, it gave me that taste of what it was like to prepare for a game and get out there and run out with the boys. So, but look, the Richmond games were my real debut, and I had a great game that day. We ended up winning after being down at half time.
In saying that though, by the end of the year you must have played 10 games, but 3 of them were finals. How'd you settle into that? I mean, they're big games to be playing so early in your career.
They are, Scotty, and I think I pinch myself now when I think about that year, because you're such a young man at the time, just wanting to play your first game. And here I found myself playing in the prelim final against the Swans, and I probably didn't realise how big an event that was till you reflect back on it. But I was just, every game, just wanting to get out there and do my best and make my mark in the AFL. And I think I was lucky enough when I made my debut against Richmond. I stayed in for the rest of the year, and we had a pretty good run into the finals.
Didn't Sheeds deliver one of his great sprays after that prelim final? I think it's one he says he actually regrets.
I think a few of us copped a spray that game. I think Rick Renshaw copped a really good one. Hurdy copped a really good one, and myself and Dustin Fletcher for that last little punch on Lockett. But that forms your character and what you are now, and it sort of made me hungry for success. And I think it took us a while to get there in 2000, but we obviously learned our lessons from that.
Did Sheeds ever speak to you about that after the night?
Nah, he gave me the good spray, and I think that was it.
Moved on.
I think he sort of wanted me to understand how big the moment was, and I think because I was so young I didn't realise that, whereas some of the other senior boys probably did. But look, as I said, I got better from that and learnt from that.
Take us through 2000. Sheeds was on here a couple of weeks ago and said he basically didn't have to coach the team that year because of what happened in 99. Yeah. Did you feel that was a similar story?
Oh yeah, we were gutted after the 99 prelim, that's for sure. We think that's one that got away. We were really sneaking up on North Melbourne, had some really good encounters with them and thought we'd have them. Obviously Carlton surprised us in that prelim, and I think it motivated us. We had a great pre-season. We had a really good fitness coach in John Quinn who came in and set the foundations, I think, for us to get to that 2000 premiership. And I think it was just a really good blend of talent we had. When you look back, there were some senior players there, there was some inside ball winners, outside ball winners, and we had some great goal kickers and a really potent forward line with Scotty and Lloydie and other players in the forward line. So it was just a really good mix, and every time you ran out, you just had the confidence in your teammates. You just knew they were going to back you up. You knew that if you got into the right spaces, the ball would be delivered to you. So it was a pretty special time.
And you also knew that if you were 4 or 5 goals down, you were never out of the game. You're actually still probably even money at that stage.
Yeah.
So there was a lot of self-belief in the team, wasn't there?
There was a lot of self-belief. You could put score on quickly. It was amazing. It was a really good year.
You were saying before you spent some time, a lot of people might not know it, at the Bendigo Bombers later on. What sort of players did you play with there that sort of went on and played some senior footy for the Bombers?
Yeah, that was a really good time actually. Unfortunately, when I finished at Richmond, I tried to get back on Essendon's list, but as a 27-year-old, that's very tough. But got back to the club and helped Matthew Knights at the time, who was the Bendigo Bombers coach, with the team. And I think Joe Watson was playing in the twos there. Who else was there? Lovett was there. Yeah, exactly. We were speaking about it before. Yeah, Andrew Lovett. And I remember handballing to him one game off the half back line, and I just saw his dust. He was just so fast, and I think that sort of told me at the time too, maybe the game's passing me by. This guy's just taken off. But I mean, he was a freak. He was so fast, and I knew that he'd have a career in the AFL, just given his ability to run and carry the footy. And Watson was obviously one that was just really determined and could take a mark and was agile. So I knew that he could probably make it as well.
You mentioned almost coming back to Essendon. I mean, Chris Heffernan did it. Was it close to happening, or? Oh
no, I remember at the time I was I did a fitness test at the club, and I know, look, my knees weren't great, and I think both the club doctors at Essendon were aware that my knees weren't super, and it might have been a bit of a risk to take me on. So I did a fitness test, and I think I normally in the beep test get around a 15 or a 15.5. I sort of just got to 14, and I think the club sort of saw that I wasn't at the peak of my powers, so unfortunately didn't take me up. I think Ty Zantuck was a mature age player that got picked up, and they took a chance on him. He was a little bit younger, but look, unfortunately it didn't happen for me, and I understand why. The club were pretty transparent on it as well. They said, look, come back and help the youngsters out at the Bendigo Bombers.
Fair to say, Ty didn't probably work out there, Scotty.
No, he short but illustrious career with the Bombers. You relocated from Canberra, went to school and did year 12 down here while playing with us. And how difficult was that for you?
Yeah, look, my parents were always about me getting an education, first and foremost. So I think, I knuckled down when I came up here and finished year 12. Fortunately, I probably wasn't in the seniors straight away, so I wasn't playing senior footy when I was doing my year 12 year, and played a little bit of school footy with Essendon Grammar, and we had some success there. I think it got a little bit harder when I started to play in the seniors, because obviously university studies and that, you wanted to focus on your footy. So I think I had a year off and did an apprenticeship at the club actually in 1997, which really helped me. I was around the club a bit. Andrew Jukovic, yeah. Good old Barb Cullen in the Hall of Fame. Hi, Barb. She was fantastic, and that was really good because I just absorbed myself in the footy club. I was a youngster. I was only 19. Did a lot of extra training, and that really helped me, I think, to develop my character and skills with the club. And then went back to uni after that and just did one subject every semester. So I think it took me 7 years to get my marketing degree, but it was good to have because when I finished footy, that's what got me my first job.
It seems like it's like finishing at 27 might be pretty stressful for some people, but it seems like it was quite a smooth transition out of footy for you.
Yeah, I think the AFL are pretty smart, and I took advantage of all the facilities the AFL offered. So they gave you a certain amount of money to study each year. So I ended up finishing my marketing degree, as I said, which took me 8 years, but I did that through funding for the AFL, so I didn't have a HECS debt, so that was good. Didn't have to pay for that. And obviously the retirement fund that the AFL have, they pay you a certain amount of money when you retire, depending on how many years you played at the senior level, and that sort of helped me transition into doing something new. So, and also I did my MBA when I finished, and the AFL let you apply for funds for about 3 years after you finish. I used half of that for my MBA. So I think they helped me, support me in post-career, and that helped me transition into like I said, another career, which was shopping centre management, which if you had asked me when I was playing footy, you're going to get into that, I would never have guessed that, but my marketing degree helped me get in the door to that.
Well, Justin, great to see you. Good luck with everything you're doing in the business world.
Thank you.
And they were great memories with Justin, weren't they, Scotty?
Were indeed.
Yeah.
Were indeed. Lived with Justin for
Oh,
a
hang
fair
on.
while.
Let's hang on before we go.
How did that go?
Questions
for me.
How did that go? Just you two or someone else?
It was very tidy.
We had a couple
Very tidy.
Oh, no, it was bad. It was bad. Yeah, it was a powerful
His mum
unit.
used to come up and pick up the washing and do it for him, drop it off, all done the next week. He was looked after.
Oh, well done.
Yeah, Marg Lucas looked after you.
Yeah, no, she did. No, he was good. Very good to live with.
Oh, very good, very good. Well, thanks for your time, Justin. Scotty, we'll see you next week. Remember, Bomber fans, if you can't get to the game Friday night, the Colonial Brewing Company is a great place to watch Friday night footy, but let's hope we get a big crowd, and we'll see you next week on the Footy Panel.